Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the Lynn Lowdown. I'm Danny Vittori, and today we welcome back Police Chief Chris Reddy. Thank you so much for coming back on the show.
Thank you for having me, Danny.
Of course. So one of the big things I know we're speaking about today is school is starting in a few weeks. I almost can't believe it that summer's almost over, but I'm sure you go through this every year talking about some of the safety tips you'd give to parents, students, and then, of course, all the cars on the road around the schools.
You know, you're exactly right. Summers always do go fast, and then it comes quickly, and we're at that point right now. And the big issue when the schools are starting out for us, and really for the community, has to do with traffic safety. For the students coming and going from school, for the motorists, for everybody. And that's something I really think it's important to take a few minutes to talk about. So that's part of why I want to share that with you today.
So for, I said, students return to school, what safety tips would you start for getting to them?
So I think the first thing I would ask is for all parents to take a few minutes to talk to their kids about safety going and coming from school. They should be walking in groups. They should be really emphasizing crossing at crosswalks, not just running out wherever. If they're riding their bike, they should stop at the corner, wait for the signal to change, and follow the rules there. It's about taking the time as a parent to reinforce those lessons. Even though you may have talked about it before or last year, refresh those lessons with your child because it's critically important to keep them safe.
Definitely. Like you said, you may have said it before, but always good to say it again, repeat.
Right.
And of course, there are a ton of cars in Lynn. There's a lot of road traffic. So now people may be used to going a certain speed, going a certain way, but that's really got to change with school starting. Yeah,
so that's exactly it. So first of all, be aware there's going to be more students out during the day. Just like we're asking parents to talk to their students about not just walking out between cars, which is so dangerous. We're asking motorists to be aware that some of that will happen and just be mindful. Slow down, obey the speed limits, put your phone down. Do not be a distracted driver. It's so critically important because none of us wants to be responsible for causing a student or anyone to be harmed because of our driving behavior. So really a lesson to all motorists. And then beyond that, at the schools, we have to make, there are certain temporary traffic controls that go into place. Many schools have a one-way during the arrival period and the dismissal period each day, and that's to help traffic flow and to allow the traffic to get moved through the area as students are being dropped off and picked up more easily. And people just need to be mindful of that. Do not rely on your GPS because your GPS doesn't always have the awareness of these temporary traffic changes. You should be paying attention to the road and be careful not to go the wrong way in a one-way because it puts the students at danger.
And in all places around schools, the speed limit always drops to 20. I know I see the signs everywhere, and some of them have the flashing signs, but that's another, it is slower than maybe certain other places in the city.
Yeah, and that's obviously by design to give you more time to react, but 20 miles an hour is still, fast if there's a lot of cars or a lot of kids. So again, pay attention to the conditions before you and react that way. And the other thing we would ask parents when you are engaging in drop-off or pickup with your child, be careful about double parking or doing other things. I understand parents need to get to work or they need to get other places and they are just trying to do a quick drop-off and pickup. But when you double park and drop your student off, they are entering into traffic, and that puts them at risk. You certainly never intend that anything bad to happen, but the consequences can be real. You think you're safe, but you don't know what the guy behind you is going to do, if they're going to pass you because you pulled over. So double parking is a frequent complaint we get from the schools and other parents, and it also puts the students at danger. So we'd ask you, instead, think about setting up a meeting place, a couple 100 yards down from the school where your child can meet you every day. That's where you're going to pick them up, but you're staying away from all that crush of traffic right in front of the school. So planning is good for everybody.
Yeah, that's a good piece of advice too, because added on to that is also you have school buses. You have many that are used, kids getting dropped off, and that's another whole piece of maneuvering and making sure you're paying attention to them.
Exactly. And so again, for parents, you've been driving through the summer, there's been no school buses, there's been low traffic. We're going to very quickly have significant increases in traffic during the school arrival and dismissal periods, and that's going to include the buses as well. And they're going to stop. And we do have a problem, not just in this community, but throughout the Commonwealth, is the hazard of motorists who get impatient and they go around a bus with the flashing red lights. Obviously, if we see that, we're going to pull you over and you're going to get a hefty fine. But more importantly, you put the students at risk. So allow for more time for your daily commute as the school season starts, because things are going to be more congested traffic-wise, and it's going to take a little more time. And again, coming back to the conversation between parents and their children, if your child rides the bus, talk to them about how to behave on a bus. Like, they should be seated at all times. They should be respectful to the bus driver and listen to that driver's directions, and just be a respectful presence on that bus, and everyone will be safer if we all can just be patient that way.
Because it's all about safety for the kids, for the motorists, for everybody. That's
Absolutely.
the bottom line.
That's the bottom line, 100%. And we've had several pedestrian crashes in recent months with young people on bikes or otherwise walking into traffic, and those were just sort of random events. But we know that as school season starts, there's going to be more interaction, students crossing streets, coming and going from schools, and we just want to really emphasize the importance of being aware of your surroundings.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I said, and you definitely do, and that's great advice to give to students. Another way that you're even ramping it up too is bringing back another program, which is the motorcycles.
That's right.
Which you used to have, and now you have again.
Yeah, so we're very excited about this. We're starting a motorcycle program, and we have 4 officers. It's an 80-hour certification course to be able to ride a motorcycle. And that's really important, because riding a motorcycle in a congested community presents a lot of challenges for the officers. And the training is really challenging, but they'll come away with the skills necessary to ride safely. So we have 4 officers who've completed that certification course. We have the motorcycles that are now at the police station and being marked up and ready to go. I think we'll be able to share some images of that with you. Mm-hmm. And we're going to use those for a range of purposes. They're a very useful traffic enforcement tool because we will be increasing traffic patrols around schools as school starts. The motorcycles can get to areas a little bit more easily, but they also can be used in areas that a typical cruiser can't easily access. That could be the bike trail, that could be certain parks, it could be congested areas. The motorcycles can enter them and create a visible presence, a deterrence for bad behavior, and also traffic enforcement more easily. So we're very excited about that. It's one more tool that we can use to service the community and promote safety and good driving behavior. So looking forward to that.
You said it's another piece. It's another way to show enforcement and get to places that you can't really reach, so that's a 2-piece of it as well. Because another thing is you just received funding to actually get a drone for the department, which can also reach places that we as humans cannot.
Exactly. Again, it's another area that we're excited, and we're trying to create opportunities that help our officers to grow professionally, but also provide a public safety service to the community. And the drones are something that we've seen more and more, not only in the Commonwealth, but across the country. And the drones are a tool that we will be able to use for crime scene investigation, for crash reconstruction, for missing person searches and things of that nature. That's what our initial goals are going to be. Mm-hmm. But they'll also do some patrol function along areas such as the bike trail or the New Harbor Park or some other areas that are not easily accessible. Will allow us to check and see what's occurring and respond accordingly. It's really an exciting development in technology. We know that communities across the country are now using drones as a first responder. Wow. So drones are being dispatched at the same time cruisers are, but they can zip through the sky and get a bird's eye view very quickly, and that information can then be shared back in the signal room where communications come from, and our officers will be updated with suspect description or the circumstances of a crash or whatever might be occurring at the location of the call. So I do think this is the future. We're starting by just using it for crash reconstruction, crime scene, missing persons, and some general patrol work, but I think we're going to see more and more of this across the country in the future.
Definitely. Technology as a piece is starting to become more prevalent in all our lives and everywhere.
Yeah.
And there's so many obviously positive steps to it. And I know another thing we do want to address is, of course, there's always the questions about privacy whenever any new technology is introduced, but especially a drone that can fly around and see a lot of different places. What would you say to alleviate some of those concerns?
Yeah, it's a valid concern. It's one that we take very seriously and we build right into our policies. And it's the requirement. The drones will be used only in areas where the public has a right of access. We cannot use that to take images to look inside someone's home or anywhere where they have an expectant right of privacy unless we get authorization from a court, which requires a really extensive amount of probable cause and justification for a judge to grant that. And that's really not our goal. Our intention and goal is to use it in those public areas, and we'll have a policy that will guide that use, and the public will be able to see that policy. We'll make it available to them. And
like the motorcycle cops, there's an extensive amount of training that goes into. I remember I've looked at to be able to fly a drone. It's hours of training and certification so that you use it properly. That's correct. And there's FAA rules that our officers will have to be required to follow, and a lot of other training that the vendors that provide the drones will give us as well to make them used in the appropriate way. Which I definitely leave you well. And like you said, drones are the future. That's what's happening, and it'll provide so many benefits. And I know you also want to speak a bit about technology just in general. There were I think they're called the blue cameras that were just installed even just a few months ago, and you said they're already helping you. That's correct. So you know that we started the body-worn camera program 4 years ago, and I really think the city of Lynn was one of the early police departments to get on board with body-worn cameras, and it has really been remarkable, the good work by our officers that it has shown over and over again, and the really difficult situations and how they've handled them, and I think it's worked very well. At the same time, it demonstrates a level of accountability so the community knows that our officers are doing things the right way, and it's really been effective, and we're grateful for that. We then recently, in the last year or two, actually in the last year, have transitioned and installed cameras throughout the community. And this is something that we saw was being used effectively in other nearby communities. And that's what you referenced in the blue boxes. And we've already used that. Again, it's in public places. It's not being used to look in any place where someone has an expectant right of privacy. But the information helps us to identify suspects, helps us to more effectively identify traffic issues, and has really already been used to help us solve a number of violent crimes and significant property crimes. And it's helping us to make the community safer through the use of technology, which is really where we should be heading. Yeah, because you're using it, it's not replacing the work that you do, it's helping it, it's enhancing it, allowing you to maybe get to certain conclusions even faster. So for example, we would maybe have a crime somewhere, and then you would have a general description, and our detectives would have to go door to door to door, walk street to street to look for cameras on buildings or people's Ring cameras and try to get images of the suspect. Now, with a little bit of information, we can very quickly identify the suspect vehicle or individual, get a flight path and other information that helps to move the investigation forward more quickly. You're able to get the pieces together more quickly, and you are using it very efficiently. You know, you see it around, and I even said before, you, as well as your whole department, are very front-facing, approachable, and it's great that you're able to come on and speak about this to the public, alleviate some of those concerns. Thank you. I appreciate that, and that's our goal. Is we want the public to feel like we're approachable. It's our job as the police department in the city is to build those relationships and have the community feel like a level of trust, and that they can approach us and that we're there to help them be safe. Well, I believe you've definitely done that, and I know I do have to wrap up now, but I want to thank you again so much for coming on, discussing all these new policies, the school safety, and everything in the future. I'm really excited to see how it goes. So well, thank you for having me, and I look forward to the next time. Thank you, Danny. Of course, anytime. And once again, I'm Danny Vittori. This has been the Lynn Lowdown, and we'll see you next week with more guests.